morning. I don't know why. if and I still haven't fully waken up. I have a sore throat. Like, excuse me. I can't think. The heart sees deeper than the eye. Um, this is what I was planning on talking about today, so I'm just gonna let you see how that falls together. I decided I wanted to take you along in an everyday scenario with me and show you how I let spirit lead. The universe, God, source, whatever, your higher self, however you see him. Um, this is what it means to live by aligned inspiration or aligned guidance or um, following your intuition, just 111 on the timer. Okay. So we're going at 10 o'clock. When the doors open, we're going to adopt this little kitty who still has the stitches over his one little eye because he had something wrong with his eye and they had to remove it to save him. But when we were going through the pound, like, going to look for our cat, which I know he's chipped and I know they're going to call. I call her. But we stopped there for a reason. So, but none of the like they were all either fighting each other and playing. Nobody was worried about the people. But this one little kitten, like he was so ugly. Like he looked mangy. Like I don't, I'm like, what's his story? Like, did he have like a skin disease? Is his hair gonna grow? Like whatever. And like they were busy, they couldn't answer. But it really didn't matter. But he like when you stick your finger in and like he, grab it with the paws, but he'd extend his claws just so gently, like all the other ones, if they did, they were too rough and they are still kittens, it's not vicious, they don't have that depth of field, that perception, that awareness yet. So they just know that, that's how they play with their brothers and sisters. And so this is a finger coming in my territory, um, but this little cat, like, and it would like rub, its head on your finger, all these things. And then, like, so we were like, we're going to come home and we're going to sleep on it. And then I'll wake up, I have this pimple that like hurts. It's like on my zygomatic. And I hate hair from animals. Like, that's like my biggest reason for like not wanting an animal is because I hate animal hair. Hey guys, if you're here for the extended, welcome. Um, Thank you, Spirit. See, like Spirit is literally telling me what to do because I've been so confused and like knowing kind of like, okay, yeah. Like in the beginning, I went too far ahead. I don't know why I'm saying this, so this is for somebody. Like I went too far ahead and I'm like, okay, I got certified in Reiki, like, did all kind of Udemy and Domestika classes, like to neuroplasticity and followed this artist that I really enjoyed, and just did all the things. Um, but and then I'm like, okay, well, no, Brandy, you didn't have to go and advertise and make the signs and put them in the yard for Reiki. No, come on, sister. Okay, so, but I was following guided into it. Like I was following intuition. I was following the steps, and I use that for me. And I am certified, and I don't necessarily. I 111 on the timer. Like I want to like give people these tools, so you don't have to like necessarily go, because I realized that my luxury in my dark night of the soul was literally I was provided a safe space for me to do this without having to worry about food on the table, lights and water, and my kid getting take having the things that he needed. I did not have to worry about that because I had people in my life that just made it possible. For whatever reason, they understood and they all pulled their part. Like they all came together. Nobody got together and decided who was going to do what, but it just naturally came together, and so many people played their part, you know. A 44-year-old woman not working, just staying in bed crying because of a breakup all day for an entire year, so much so that her son had to go spend an entire summer with his aunt and uncle, where they spent a shit ton of money putting him in summer camps and taking him on trips and vacations and little beach weekends, two, you know, and clothes and food, you know. I mean, I paid for the, but they cooked, they, you know what I mean? Like, anyway. And then my dad, you know, who every single Friday he came and checked on me. Every single Friday. You know what I mean? And then my sister, you know, my nieces, they were the ones who came and rescued me. They brought me there and they came and they rescued me, you know? They came and picked me up 2 days later, you know? You know, and especially, I had lost custody of my son before, you know, and I had gotten him back. You know, I've struggled with mental health, and I knew that something was very, very, very wrong. And I knew that what I'd been doing since the age of 13, and more so what I'd been doing, sorry about that, for the last decade, and even honing in, you know, taking it, I mean, you want to go macro, micro, and the spectrum in between, how far you want to take it in, you know what I mean? It wasn't working. And I come from a family of very, very educated in the medical professional field. Like, my entire family is full of surgeons, doctors, nurse practitioners, you know, on both, you know, like in every direction. And I've been around very educated medical professional people, you know. And I had people that worked in organizations that provided these services that should have been able to help me. But for some reason, God had other plans. You know, the universe, like, had things laid out in ways that nobody can explain. Like, I've had a $500, like, it wasn't even 500, it was like 524 cents, and it was some random, like, check that came in the mail from, like, some local finance company, but, like, it was an actual check. Like, and this was more common, like, a decade ago. Like, maybe, like, you know, not the real check in the mail, but like, yeah, you really did get pre-approved. It's not like just, anyway. But like, no, it was a check. I cashed it, and it was literally down to the cent that I needed to pay my electricity bill that was getting disconnected at 5 p.m. that day. Okay, so you cannot tell me God is not real, you know? And I was praying to a Christian God wholeheartedly, authentically, where I was with his knowing him, 222. So I know that there is a God, whatever he looks like, okay? And I know he has fought hard for me my entire life. And I know the dedication and the intention that I have with him. And I know that he has never left me. 243. In this journey, even with me trying to find what God looks like to me today. So that goes to tell me what? So my point in all of this is everything really does happen for a reason. How do I know? Because I had the privilege of taking an entire year and using it as one big experiment that I have documented completely. Through thinking I was just a really pathetic codependent person with anxious attachment, to thinking I was in psychosis, to thinking I was Jesus reincarnated himself, and then to realizing, whoa, I am, and we all are. And whoa, and then to being able to step back and pull back and realizing like, okay, you see where you prematurely acted because you were too in your masculine, so you tried to force something and you knew intuitively it didn't feel right, and it was kind of an embarrassing wager, and you knew it was more of a guess and not an intuitive led thing because it didn't feel safe and it didn't feel regulated and calm. It felt more of an adrenaline rush, right? That oxytocin, that dopamine hit, that instant gratification, right? Um, so those, you see how valuable and important those were too, because you needed to live it and experience it so you can make that connection, that new neural pathway to the energy of what that felt like when you took unaligned action and you acted upon scarcity or fear or just an imbalanced, more masculine, whatever it is, you realize that, hey, now you have a connection, a new way of thinking, So instead of you automatically going to the negative polarity and thinking, you know, woe is me, victim mode, you used it as a mirror. You learned the lesson from it, right? You alchemized it. 243. And that's how you know. I missed a step in there because there was a phase before the God, the God realization. Oh, there was the, oh God, I'm psychic, so that came first. So that itself was, set up a block with the woo-woo world. So that's my point in telling you all this is I have literally cross-referenced every stage of my awakening, every one that I thought I was in, across a scientific lens, across a psychology lens, across a quantum physics lens, across a spiritual lens, across a religious lens, through everything, like, Christianity, that led me into discovering, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Mary Magdalene Gospels and Thomas, Jesus's actual words. That led me to circling back and healing and closing that ancestral trauma with religion, right? Because I was able to pull from my Catholicism the love of Mary and worship of Mary, the use of mantras, right? The rosary, the prayers, the mantras, the mala beads, it helps me, it helped me realize, okay, it's okay to worship those in that religion. So I know it's okay for me to use these mala beads because I'm using them with intention from a centered heart space, from a heart space. And I think that's, once you get to this level of awareness, you're operating from a completely different space. You're no longer in the head space, and you're in an just complete love. And that in itself, you will never do any wrong when you, so if you have that level of power, it's because you're operating from a heart space. So there can never be any wrongdoings that was not divine intervention for a reason. 222. So if there is a dark, terrible time that you're going through, there is a way to pull back and look at the macro, micro, and figure it out. Like, no matter what, I know it sounds crazy, but no matter what you're facing in your life, like, it can be eliminated, literally, with just a few simple mind shifts. But they're so simple that we don't know what to do with easy, like plant medicine. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the word or the process that we're looking for can be explained in the alchemical process, in alchemy, the 7 stages of alchemy that we go through. Christian standpoint, beauty from ashes, right? There we go. And it could be explained by any natural law, any, in whatever religion you are, there's a story that you use as your doctrination that is equal to it. Whether you're a scientific mind and you need a explanation for it at that level, we can give it to you too. You need one at a more metaphysical or quantum level, like no matter where you need the answer, there is existing, whether it's a doctrination or a scientific fact or equation or method, it can be proven anyway. That is just demonstrating all of our different levels of consciousness or levels of awareness, really. That's all it does. So, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so there will be a point in which you'll understand how everyone is not only necessary, but it's welcomed and it should be embraced, because that's how you learn what's true and authentic to you, right? Is by understanding every aspect of it, because that's the only way that you'll be able to ground it enough for it to feel safe in your nervous system, for it to be able to start to make those new neural pathways. So that way your reality can change with your internal, because the internal always goes first. But when we don't have the language and a regulated nervous system so that we can embody and integrate that new frequency, right? That's like a very, very grounded way of looking at it. So I really hope this helps somebody. I know it was all over the place, but it was my morning ramblings, and I've been led by spirit that this is the way to go, and I fought it along the ways, but I needed every step, and I realized that, I'm going to sleep on it, and if it resonates tomorrow, because when we're still too stuck in our ego, we're going to think that we can't pull from our earlier limited thinking that you thought was limited thinking. But whenever you're able to dissolve that ego, you'll be able to see how you can use that to your advantage. You go into whatever level feels safe in your body, even if it was a long time ago when you believed in something different, but it felt safe in your body at that time. So we're going to use that level just to help you get back to where the rest of your thinking is, because this is not an in journey thing, right? This thing's dead. And we know that, and it's hard, and I've known this the whole time. I've just waited till it kind of clicked, and now it finally does. Is I look at all of those, whenever I was, Catholicism, and that was the only way. And then when I was Pentecostal, and that, and then when and then only spirituality. And then I'm like, oh my God, no, God, I abandoned God, Jesus. No, I still love the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, and the whole story of Anna. And I love those stories. I love how Catholicism puts such beautiful intention and devotion behind their practices, and the Pentecostal church is where I felt God on a frequency vibrational place, so all of those are beautiful, and I could still have that and still wonder okay, well, what's I know we're not the only species in this thing, whatever, in all of existence. I've focused on in order for me to get my
nervous system regulated, it was important for me. I had to, the mental health thing had to come first, the psychology, and then the spirituality for me to be able to understand it and it feel true in my body. But now I'm able to come back to all these things and like, okay, now like I've got the, I've got this body taken care of and it's safe now to explore the fun things that I want to like start. Okay, like let's learn about all these different intergalactic species and things like that, you know. But you have to regulate your nervous system because until you regulate that nervous system, you won't be able to have fun and start to, you know, get in that creative flow and not have to always come back so hard onto being that masculine version of yourself.